Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Danielle, aka Stitcherista here on YouTube, and today is another diamond paint with me while I continue working on Treasure Studios art Cherry Blossom by Lizzie Falcon. Absolutely love this diamond painting. I hope to have it done Sunday. Someday, not Sunday. I hope to have it done someday soon. We do not know. So yesterday I did not have any work and it was a good day. Got a lot of stuff done. And then when it came time for the evening to come, which is my stitching time, you know, normally Bill goes to bed at 8 o'clock, so I'm in my office at about 8:15 if I'm not exhausted. And that is the time that I will put on one of those Lifetime movies, and I'll stitch till about 10 o'clock, something like that. So I had my Halloween project on a Q-snap, and I found my arm was really bothering me just trying to reach underneath the Q-snap and all of that. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try to put my project on scroll rods because I have all kinds of different scroll rods and doodads and stuff. Well, it was like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You know, Goldilocks trying to find the perfect porridge, the perfect bed, all that stuff. I spent most of my stitching time trying to get my fabric onto scroll rods and get it all situated and all that, because the scroll rods that I'm using are the Artisan Design Lock Scroll, and they barely fit. The end of it barely fits into my corner clamp for the Lowry, but it fits. And so it got me to thinking as other types of scroll rods, because I really love Q-snaps. I love the concept of it with the clamps and it's tight and all of that. So I knew there were handy clamps out there. And one of the ladies at the retreat had handy clamp scroll rod set that I saw when I was there last week, and I really liked it. So 123 Stitch sells it, but I decided to go on Amazon and look around, and they had a set too. So I ordered that. And then they had another set of these scroll rods that I have to try called Arabesca, I think. It looks similar to the handy clamp ones. We're going to see, because each of these sets were about $45, and I'm going to do a separate video on each one because I can't wait to get them. If they work, it's going to be like a game changer, and it looks like they will fit in the Lowry table clamp with no issue because they're thin enough and they don't have big knobs on the ends. So we will see. But not only was I sitting there spending time trying to get my scroll rod thing in the clamp, it's like my chair is too low and the table is too high that I have. And would I love to get a new recliner? Yes, but that's senseless. That's crazy. This recliner works fine. So what I did wind up doing was getting one of my seat cushions that's probably about 2 inches thick, and I sat on that, and that gave me the height that I wanted. So I was just like, at the end of the night, because then by that time it was almost 10:30, and I'm like, I gotta get downstairs and start like winding down for the night. And so I only got like half of a pumpkin done. And I wanted to fill the entire pumpkin in, but yeah, I was just like, am I Goldilocks right now? Always trying to find the perfect setup for stitching. So because I'm using scroll rods now, and I probably will be for the foreseeable future, I will probably be taking my, even though I said I wasn't going to, I will take my Lowry table clamp and the corner clamp with me to the retreat in December, because I know it fits on those tables because 2 of the ladies there have it. And it's easily maneuverable and it doesn't take up that much space. I mean, it truly is a fantastic piece of machinery. I don't know what the word is. But yeah, and then today, so I have a job today that doesn't start until 2 p.m. my time. It's about 12:30 p.m. my time when I'm recording this. We have a job tomorrow, a full day, and then we have a job next Monday and Wednesday, and I'm sure some of the other days will fill in. So I take great pains, which I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about. I take great pains to manage the team, our schedule, our calendar, all of that. When a job comes in, I am messaging people to see who can work immediately. And then what happens is the day before a job is when the job either confirms or cancels or reschedules. So when a job confirms, again, I am messaging everyone immediately. Job confirmed, here's the start time. One of our main team members has been on vacation this entire week. So I had to schedule a backup person and then our other regular person. So I send out the confirmation email because our job for tomorrow confirmed. And our team member, our normal team member, writes back and says, oh, I didn't know we had a job tomorrow. I just had today and then Monday. I said, well, first of all, we also have a job on October 6th, which is Wednesday. So I know I sent her a text message. So I look back and I sent the text message last Friday on September 24th while I was at the fucking retreat. That's what really gets me, that I was working during that retreat to let people know we have a fucking job tomorrow. Now, this team member is taking care of her mom. And I understand that. But when you reply back to me, okay, I'll put it on my calendar. Well, I have to trust that you're fucking putting it on your calendar. So she writes me back and she's like, you know, my mom has a doctor appointment in the middle of the afternoon. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. I said, okay, well, let me see if I can get somebody else, because I try to avoid people working a half day as much as possible because it's just a pain in my ass. To try to have somebody, oh, I'm only available till 1, and then try to have somebody come in at 1 until the end of the day. It's a big giant pain. So I try to avoid that at all costs. So I email our immediate backup person. She's like, well, I'm only available until 2 p.m. I'm like, oh my fucking God. So then I email 2 other people. Nope, nobody's available. So I write the original team member back and I say, hey, is there any way you can change the appointment? Because first of all, this is her fault, not my fault, right? I say, is there any way you can change the appointment? Because, you know, nobody's available the full day. There's a rough draft. It's a 2-day turnaround. I said, and having 2 people work on a job is a hardship, because with 2 people, you never get a break. And I don't know how long this job is going to go. We never know how long they're going to go. They rarely ever say it in the very beginning. Sometimes they do, but that it's rare. It ends when it ends. So she says, okay, I'll be right back. I'll let you know. She comes back and she's like, they can't change it. I said, all right, well, I have so-and-so until 2 p.m., so you're off the hook. I said, you're not working tomorrow then. And she's like, well, I can help until 12:45. I said, you're not understanding. That does me no good. I said, I need someone from 2 p.m. to the end of the day. That was the whole issue. And normally when stuff like this happens, I will pussyfoot around the team, because I don't want someone to just up and quit, because that would cause a whole host of problems. But you know what? I'm done with it. I said, no. So I wrote her back and she's like, well, let me know if it's okay that I'm not working tomorrow. And I said, it's actually not okay. I said, you know, I take great pains to manage the schedule and to let you guys know immediately when a job comes in. And it's a hardship. It's going to be a hardship having 2 people from 2 p.m. until the end of the day, which essentially is it's 2 p.m. my time, because that woman is on my time zone. So it is going to be 2 p.m. to the end of the day. Yeah. And I'm just like, well, I just have to get it done. The job always gets done. And the team member actually had the audacity to come back and say, have you ever considered a Google Calendar for the team? I said, we used to have that. I said, all of the dates are in ClickUp. We use a website called ClickUp. I said, I update that daily. I said, you're welcome to go look there. And she said, okay, this won't happen again. I'm just like, everyone's got stuff going on. I get it. I understand it. So now, potentially, I could be working late on a Friday. Fantastic. Yeah. Let's just hope the job ends early. Anything can happen. I try to keep an open mind. I try not to be pissed off, but I also message my boss because, she doesn't see the background of all of this stuff. And I message her, say, hey, here's heads up for tomorrow, just to let you know. And to let you know that I'm really fucking irritated about it. Yeah. Okay. So I have jibby-jabbed long enough. Oh my fucking God. My phone, I hope it recorded me. My phone had shut off. It times out after so long, and I try to keep watch so I can click on the screen, but all right. Hopefully you heard all of that. So, trying to take a fucking deep breath. Today's story is a cold case, so at least we're going to have a resolution of this one. This one is called Haunted. On the afternoon of March 16th, 1982, 13-year-old Carrie Ann Jobelan was caught cutting classes at Kosciuszko Middle School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I don't know if that school is Kosciuszko, but it's like some long funky name, so that's what I'm saying. The school had a zero tolerance policy for this sort of thing, and so Carrie Ann was given an immediate suspension and sent home with a note for her parents. Not that this punishment bothered Carrie much. This was exactly what she had planned when she had gone walking the halls during class. So she knew she was going to get suspended. Okay, that's good. The suspension would allow her to head to her friend Robin Mant's house. Robin was throwing a party that afternoon, attended by over a dozen kids who were all skipping school. What the fuck? This was going to be fun. Okay. We know that Carrie Ann attended the party that day because several of her friends saw her there. No one saw her leave, but it was just assumed that she had snuck out at some point and gone home. Only Carrie didn't make it home that afternoon, and she still had not returned well into the evening. That was when her mom, Carolyn, started working the phones, calling her daughter's friends, trying to track her down. None of them professed to have seen Carrie Ann at any time beyond mid-afternoon. By 10 p.m., Carolyn had called the police and reported her daughter missing. She was upfront with the officers, offering the opinion that Carrie Ann had probably run away, perhaps to avoid the consequences of her suspension. So, in the vast majority of teenage runaway cases, the child is quickly located or returns of his or her own volition within a few hours. That was not how it played out with Carrie Ann. Days turned into weeks, turned into months, with no trace of the missing teen. For Carrie Ann's family, this was a terrible time, a time of angst and longing. Where was Carrie Ann? Was she all right? Was she being cared for? Was she being mistreated? Held prisoner somewhere? Was she even alive? The answers to all of these questions would continue to plague the family over the next 17 months until the fateful morning of September 2nd, 1983, when a carpenter started work on constructing a new back porch at the Mant residence. Okay. The contractor began by demolishing the old structure. Then he started digging the foundation holes for the new, and that was when he found the skeleton, a pile of bones dressed in jeans and a t-shirt. 4 days later, its identity would be known. Carrie Ann was identified using dental records. An autopsy would reveal that she had died of head and neck injuries, which caused bleeding on her brain. And so one mystery was resolved, the mystery of where Carrie Ann had been all this time. Now the police had another to unravel. How had she ended up buried under the porch and who had put her there? Can you imagine your child is buried, dead and buried under your own porch of your house? I'd have to move. I'd have to move. There's no way. The obvious answer was that it was someone who had attended the party that day. One guest in particular was brought to the attention of the police. On the day that Carrie Ann's remains were removed to the morgue, a young man named Jose Ferreira showed up at the site. Ferreira was spotted by a neighbor standing beside the ominous hole in the ground. He was highly agitated and appeared to be crying. He was also holding his hands towards the heavens as though addressing God directly. Brought in for questioning, Ferreira admitted that he had been at the party that day but denied spending time with Carrie Ann or even knowing her. As for his overt display of emotion in the backyard, Ferreira said that he was just showing compassion for a young girl who died and shouldn't have died. The police had no reason to detain him, so he was allowed to leave. In truth, this was a crime that the police had very little chance of solving. Months had passed, valuable time had been lost, evidence had degraded. The witnesses, such as they were, had been drunk and stoned and had hazy recollections of that afternoon. Many of them could not even recall whether Carrie Ann had been at the party. Without ever really gaining traction, the investigation ground to a halt, and the murder of Carrie Ann would remain unsolved for the next 3 decades. Jesus Christ, 30 years? My God. And then, over the course of one extraordinary afternoon in October of 2015, the truth would all come out, gushing like water from a Yellowstone geyser. Interesting metaphor. That was the day that Jose Ferreira, the same Jose Ferreira who had once been questioned in connection with Carrie Ann's death, called his estranged wife and said that he had something to confess. Jose was drunk, slurring his words as he spoke. What he had to say, though, had nothing to do with his inebriated state. The story he had to tell was extraordinary. Immediately after hanging up the phone, his wife went to her car and drove to the West Milwaukee police station. There she told the desk sergeant that she wanted to report a murder. Oh boy. The police were still taking down that statement when they received another call reporting the same crime. This one was from a counselor working a crisis hotline. She said that a man named Jose had called her and confessed to killing a teenage girl 30 years ago when he was still a teen himself. Worryingly, he had ended the conversation by telling the counselor that he might just decide to go out in a blaze of glory. That piece of information had officers scrambling to bring Jose Ferreira into custody. Ferreira, meanwhile, was still in confessional mode. Jesus Christ. His next call was to Milwaukee news station WISN 12, where he told a reporter much the same story as he had revealed to the crisis counselor. Back in 1982, he said when he was 17 years old, he had killed a girl named Carrie Ann Jobelan. I didn't mean to do it, he sniffled. It was an accident. Jose Ferreira would offer the same story to investigators when he was taken into custody 2 days later. He said that he had spotted Carrie Ann the minute she arrived at the party and had thought she was pretty. He had been drinking heavily, he said, and had also smoked some marijuana. Crossing the room, he approached Carrie Ann and offered her a pull on his joint, which she accepted. He then asked if she wanted to go down to the basement with him, and she said yes. No! You say no! However, as they stepped onto the landing, Carrie Ann had second thoughts, and she said, I don't know if this is a good idea. Ferreira then grabbed her by the arm and told her that he wasn't going to let her back out now, and he gave her a push to get her moving. Instead, she lost her footing and fell, striking her head on the banister on the way down, landing at the bottom of the stairs in a heap. Jesus. According to Ferreira, he thought that she had been knocked out cold. Deciding to take advantage of the situation, he started fondling the girl. Of course he did. My God. It was only when he tried removing her clothes that he realized she wasn't breathing. Panicked, Uncertain what to do, he eventually decided to pull her through the basement window and bury her under the porch. Oh, it wasn't her. Okay, now I understand. It wasn't Carrie Ann's family's porch. It was her friend Robin, their porch. Why did I think it was Carrie Ann's family's porch? Good God. So nobody heard him burying her under the porch? Obviously not. So asked why he had decided to come forward now after all these years, Ferreira said that he could no longer live with the guilt. He believed that Carrie Ann was haunting him, he said, forcing him to admit his sin. It would later emerge that Ferreira had befriended the Jobelan family after Carrie Ann's body was found. He had started by visiting their house to offer his condolences, and thereafter he would show up out of the blue and sit at the kitchen table saying nothing. On one occasion, he blurted out that he knew who had killed Carrie, but couldn't say for fear of his life. No amount of pressing could get him to reveal more. But whatever remorse he might have felt, however much he felt haunted by the ghost of Carrie Ann, Ferreira was still going to try to escape responsibility for his actions. As the matter headed for trial, his attorney made it clear that they would challenge the confession and offer up an alternate suspect believed to be Robin Mant's older brother, John. He had a witness, he said, who had been at the party and would finger John as the killer. Prosecutors would later learn that this witness was Robin Mant's ex-boyfriend, currently serving a jail term and angling for a reduction of sentence. In most other cases, such evidence would have been easily dismissed. In this one, it would have to be carefully considered. The case against Ferreira was weak, with no forensics, no eyewitnesses, nothing in fact but the confession. If the judge agreed to the defense motion and threw it out, Ferreira would walk, and it was for that reason that the decision was made to offer him a deal. Had he been convicted on the second-degree murder charge, Jose Ferreira would have been looking at 20 years behind bars. He would have been in his 70s by the time he walked free, but now that charge was off the table. Ferreira was offered the chance to plead only to attempted second-degree sexual assault and to false imprisonment. That carried a maximum 7-year prison term. He would have been a fool to turn it down, yeah? So for the violent death of a 13-year-old child, for hiding her body... Wow, she was 13, he was 17. Oh my God. For hiding her body and putting her family through months of anguish, for 3 decades of keeping his deadly secret, leaving them to wonder if they'd ever see justice done for their murdered daughter, Jose Ferreira was sentenced to just 7 years behind bars. Ferreira tells Carrie Ann's parents before his sentence was passed, "I can't take back how it happened. Sorry, from the deepest pain in my heart, sorry." For Carrie Ann's mom, Carolyn, that pathetic apology and the paltry sentence that accompanies it will have to be enough. However, Carolyn takes solace in the fact that Ferreira did not rest easy all these years. The cops didn't solve this crime, she said. Carrie Ann did. She firmly believes that her daughter's spirit was haunting Ferreira, forcing him eventually into his confession. And you know, it would have never been solved if he wouldn't have come forward. Did you guys ever see the movie Stir of Echoes with Kevin Bacon? Oh my God. Like a cold case crime gets solved in that movie. Holy shit. Such a good movie if you haven't seen it. One of my favorite, like, scary, haunting thriller movies, for sure. And it's older. Like, it's from the 90s, I want to say. Really good, though. All right. So today's positive affirmation is from Eleanor Roosevelt. She says, "You must do the things you think you cannot do." And I picked this one because of my work situation tomorrow, because when I messaged the team member, I said, if you can't work, I'll make it work. The job always gets done. It always gets done. No matter what has happened, circumstances, the job has always gotten done. I tend to be, I feel like, somewhat of a hard ass, and I have no sympathy, though, for anyone's plight, really, because I've worked through the death of both of my grandparents. I worked through the entire fucking year I had cancer treatment, and I didn't miss any time except scheduled time when I had chemo. Even when I didn't feel well, when I was bone fucking tired, when I was sick from the chemo, I still worked. So I don't want to fucking hear it. That's how I feel about that. I worked through probably the most difficult time in my life. Yeah, no. No. Okay. Getting off my soapbox about that. So as always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.